Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming to us online or offline. My name is Dmitry Panov. I am the director of Digital Renaissance Music Institute. So we doing contemporary popular music education here in Dubai. We have programs dedicated to music production, DJing, to singing and songwriting, to music performance for musicians, and also programs and courses for future audio engineers as well as for managers um, in music industry. You're welcome to join. I hope you will enjoy today this event. We just starting the series called Keep Calm and Carry On, online specifically. For those who is here or abroad, somehow linked to Dubai and was affected with current unusual circumstances, let's call it like this. And we just want to support each other to provide thoughtful events for those who is unlinked with the community, and we want to bring some feeling of normality back to your life, providing what we can do the best is the education in music and in music production and in music industry and in audio engineering as well. Please welcome Ilya Mazaev. Ilya Mazaev is our subject leader for audio engineering pathway. He's a sound engineer, designer of whole digital renaissance equipment and the recording studio, and special lovely man and great professional. So I hope you will enjoy event today. And Ilya, please, I'm passing you a mic.
Thank you very much, Dmitry. Hello, everyone. I'm pleased to meet you here online in this series of Keep Calm and Carry On lectures and seminars. And today I'm going to talk about the history of audio recording and how it evolved, how it changed over the decades, how we got where we are now. And like this perspective is important to know and really good to know, not only for engineers, but also for musicians and hi-fi enthusiasts and everyone who is interested in music. So let's go. So before we start discussing recording, let's say what music scene was before recording. That's very important. Yeah, first of all, the only way to listen to music was to listen to the live performances of musicians. Either it was somewhere in companies or in salons or in the concert halls and theaters, but there was no such thing as a reproduction of a pre-recorded material. So there was no audio. There was only sound, but not audio. If you Google the differences of sound and audio in encyclopedia, sound is anything that kind of sounds. Actually, when you walk in the wood, you hear sounds of the wood, of the birds, of the bear sometimes. Well, and audio is dedicated to something that is being played back. That's the difference. So that was only sound of live performance. The way people shared music with each other is, of course, word of mouth and national traditional ways of sharing songs and lullabies and all that things. And then also, of course, the professional part is sheet music and the way you would use it today as 300 years ago, the scores on a paper, and you have notes and you perform either on a piano or on a violin or on a flute. That's the way to precisely transfer musical information to other people so they can play it. And last but not the least, by the mid-19th century, acoustics was pretty much, it was very, very advanced, and To this day, there are a few new developments, of course, but if you go to a concert hall in Berlin, for instance, Concert House, which was built in 1830s, it sounds fantastic, and it's like one of the best sounding orchestral halls I've ever been to. And these things, they didn't demand any electricity, they didn't demand any media, store data and then reproduce data. It's purely physical acoustic science, and it was quite advanced by the mid-19th century. So what happens next is this guy, Thomas Alva Edison. You've heard about him many times. He was an inventor and also a very good businessman. He had a lot of patents on a lot of inventions. And ironically and sadly, he had lost his hearing to much degree in his early teen years. So he had very, very big problems with hearing. He was very annoyed by it all his life. So, and then in the year of 1877, I'm sorry, he invents the phonograph at his labs in New Jersey. And that was the first device to capture, store, and then play back anything sound-wise. That was the first audio recording. There was no electricity involved. It was purely mechanical at the moment, although electric experiments and the science was developing side by side with this technology. And you can see in the second picture, that's the phonograph, that's a horn, which is like an amplifier. It captures the sound. You sing inside, or you play inside, or you speak inside. And the cutting stylus literally cuts the groove on top of the cylinder surface. And then you can use the second machine to play it back and listen to those sounds. Thanks to Thomas Edison, he invented it early enough so we can listen, for instance, to the voice of Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky. There are a few cuts of that. We can listen to Claude Debussy performing Claude Debussy on the piano himself and some other really nice things. So like photographs and early movies captured the late 19th century people and occasions, same with the sounds. We now have these heritage in our hands. We can listen to that actually. And 10 years later, Emil Berliner invents flat discs. He's on the last picture. By the way, the middle picture of the phonograph, I Googled it today on eBay just for fun. It's being sold. It's before 1900, so it's 19th century phonograph. And it costs about $5,500. So if anyone wants to dive into real retro stuff, not lo-fi cassettes, you can go to eBay and get this one. So the last photo shows Emil Berliner, and he invents flat discs. And that sets the pathway to what will later become the vinyl industry. Because with cylinders, early 20th century, cylinders were quite dominating the market, but guess what? Cylinders are very hard to stamp mass production style, you know. And flat discs, you can press them 1, 2, 3, 4. It's just more cost effective. And when you get this belt of factory, flat discs are of course more cost efficient. So just like Thomas Edison in the long run with his direct current lost the competition to Nikola Tesla's alternating current, which is, for those who don't know, there is no conspiracy theory or anything, just alternating current can be transmitted over long distances without loss of voltage or power, you know. DC releases a lot of energy as heat, so DC lines are very, very short. So in industrial scales between cities and power plants, of course, alternating current just won the game. in the long run. So now it's we still have DC in our guitar pedals, in our like flashlights or something, but all the major electricity lines in the cities and everywhere, they're all AC, of course. So then the flat disc, yeah, and that was a Milberger. What happens next is in parallel, sound sources capturing technologies are invented, and these all these all have to do with electricity now. So you remember on the phonograph, this is a horn. It's just an acoustic metallic thing that you sing into, and these vibrations are translated to the cutting styles. In the second half of 19th century, first David Edward Hughes invents carbon microphone. 1877, Ernest Werner von Siemens patents a moving coil transducer, which is literally a dynamic microphone, just like a Shure SM58 that I'm speaking into now, this one. Yeah, the technology goes back to 19th century. In 1916, Edward Christopher Wendt from Bell Labs, he invents the condenser microphones. And in 20s, another guys co-invent the first ribbon mic. So now we have all four classical sources of electricity that some seconds before were in the air traveling towards the surface of the mic. So that's the start of analog. Analog is being used because it's not the sound itself, but it's the same waveform, which is the change in voltage in the circuit over time. So that's why it's called analog. So pure sound is acoustic, and analog is kind of electricity which repeats the same waveform. So that's the start of recording with microphones, with preamps, with all that stuff. And next we go to the 30s. And this is a pre-war United Kingdom. And this gentleman, Alan Blumlein, he invents stereo, which is, to this day, it's the most, like the most used format of music recordings. If you see at the picture, on the picture right to his photograph, there's this moving needle in the groove of the vinyl disc in this instance. And movements up and down represent the stereo difference between left and right channel. Movements left and right represent the mono part of it. If you capture it with two coils and magnets at 45 degrees, you'll get exactly left and right channel. He patented it in the 30s, and nobody really used it much until 60s when the patent was over, because labels didn't want to pay some percent for every copy. But sadly, he died in a plane crash during World War II, because he was a big inventor in UK, and he was adjusting the targeting systems for Spitfire for military planes during the World War II. And United Kingdom, they didn't want Germans to know they lost such a brilliant scientist, so they kept his death secret. He crashed on a test flight of a plane somewhere in UK, and his death was kept secret right to the end of Second World War. Like when Hitler was defeated and Nazi Germany surrendered, then they kind of made the information public. But anyways, at Abbey Road Studios, where he worked actually at EMI, there still stands his own cutting lathe and playback machine in stereo from the 30s. So nobody knows this technology goes much further back in time than we used to think. So Then we have this period of live recording, which is electricity, but still you don't have any chance to post production anything, you know. So you have people singing in the microphone or playing. You can have several microphones and the mixing desk, but you have to write the faders or the knobs exactly the moment they perform. So because the final medium, master disc, from where you will cut the vinyl record, is being cut right now. So any mistake from musician or engineer, and you start all over again, the audience will hear the mistake. So Control Z, no editing, no auto-tune. Everything is performed live, like a concert. And the distance to the microphone was very, very serious thing, because once you hit the mic too loud, like if it's mezzo forte and you did forte, at some point the cutting stylus on the cutting lathe, which actually cuts the master disc, it will just skip, or two grooves will just touch each other into an infinite loop. So that will just damage the whole process and you have to start all again. So that was very serious. Here on the photo you see Glenn Miller, the famous jazz orchestra leader and composer, with the Andrews sisters. And there's just CBS Studios with just one ribbon mic and nothing else. And that's how they record. So that was the thing. Up until post-war period, there was an engineer, Tom Dowd, a very, very famous guy in the United States, who is responsible for quite a few inventions in recording technology, as well as he's the mentor of many, many huge engineers. So his former like assistants slash students became Phil Ramone, L. Schmidt, and so on and so forth. So he had a very big input into the process. He was a professional physicist, and he was working on a top secret project during World War II. Guess which one? It was called the Manhattan Project. So he was 19, but a very talented physicist. So he got to this secret lab making the first atomic bombs for the United States during World War II. After that, when the war was over and he returned to his institute, he realized that everything he knows is top secret. He cannot tell it, he cannot use it. And the science in his institute is probably like 20 or 30 years behind. And it's borrowing something from the past. So he just stopped, I'll stop here. And he goes to New York, to Atlantic Records, and says, guys, let me rather be an audio engineer. And the rest is history. So he records the whole Ray Charles catalog, a lot of great albums like Derek and the Dominos with Eric Clapton, the famous Layla. He did Atlantic Crossing for Rod Stewart, and you can Google his catalog. It's quite impressive. But he brought a tape machine with magnetic tape to the studio. The reason he did that, he was very upset that sometimes you have like limited time on the vinyl disc. You have to stop and then cut the next disc. And there is a pause in the track or something. But he said, okay, if I cut it on a magnetic tape, it has much longer length. And then he realized that he can splice and cut and then get it together with a scotch, and you get an edit. So you can take, for instance, this song take 1, this song take 2, this song take 3, this song take 1 again, get all the best performances, and cut them after that on a vinyl disc, like all the best versions from the day. And that was the birth of mastering engineer profession, because now you are cutting the disc not from the air from the mics, right? But you're cutting it from our approved tape with all the best versions. And then the process of separating recording process into separate professions started, evolved very early, but that's the point. Another thing that, yeah, I must mention that magnetic tape was very, very convenient for recording military communications, and also for intelligence, to spy on Germans, for instance, during the World War. So it wasn't used in the recording studio at all. That was Tom Dowd's idea in like 1940 something, like 6 or 7, to bring that thing into the studio. And eventually it became the standard for recording after that. Another thing, Tom was a pianist, so he replaced these rotary knobs with faders, so he could use 8 at a time, because we have these 4 and 4 long fingers. And he was the first guy to introduce faders on the console. And then mixing changed a lot, because you can up to 8 sounds at once. And by the way, because we have 8 long fingers and 2 thumbs, which are pretty short, we can't use them for that. All the desks that you meet normally are 8 tracks, 8 channels, 16, 24, 32, etc., etc. So it all comes from this blocks like 8, 8, 8, 8, 8. So that's also Tom Dowd. And here on the photo, you see 2 tape machines of the modern era still used. It was built in the 70s and the 80s, but it's like top line Studer A80 and then ATR 102 Ampex. They're so good that you all know now we have multiple companies emulating their distortion and nonlinearity with a plugin. And UAD has this, and some other have this, and this is the master tape machine that was used. So this is Tom Dowd. Oh no, this is Tom Dowd. Yeah. And this is the snapshot from a great movie called Tom Dowd and the Language of Music. With him in the movie, he's very old, but I just recommend you to watch it. It's very inspiring, and you'll have a very good perspective on how the recording industry evolved after World War II. So another guy is Rudy Van Gelder, and he's responsible for some of the best classical jazz recordings for Blue Note Records, and of course Miles Davis, John Coltrane, Thelonious Monk, Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie, and many others, Cannonball, Bill Evans, I can name, Paul Chambers, all the best names in the 20th century jazz heritage. You should just study and watch what he did for these records. He did some very unique techniques in the studio as well. And for instance, when he recorded Hammond organ, B3, for instance, like classic Jimmy Smith Hammond trios and stuff, he first changed the wiring of the Hammond and Leslie, and he had a DI out of Hammond mixed into the Leslie. So when you play the bass line with your left hand, it is rock solid, like a DI'd straight organ. And then you add a little bit of Leslie for this effect, but you have this solid bass, not worse than bass guitar or double bass. Because if you try to record Hammond organ, low notes, bass lines through a Leslie, it doesn't sound quite solid enough to hold the bottom end. Yeah, so he did all those different tricks, and there's a movie about him as well, I recommend. And the third guy, of course, you know him, Les Paul. He is very famous for his model of Gibson guitar, Gibson Les Paul, but he was a real pioneer of recordings. He did first overdubs before tape machines. He had a turntable and then a cutting lathe, and he would play one vinyl disc or a dub plate. It goes to the mixer, and he plays overdub on top, and the second disc is being cut. So he invented overdubs long before, not long, but before tape machines, which is really innovative. And he recorded half speed, double speed, great harmonies with his wife, Mary Ford. They lived a very long, happy life. Other than that, he invented some guitar effects, and also he was responsible for the acoustics of the famous echo chambers at Capitol Records in Los Angeles, in Hollywood. You probably know this plugin, Capitol Chambers by UAD. So there are like 8 chambers in the basement of the Capitol round building. It's like on the crossing of Vine Street and Hollywood Boulevard. It's one of the best reverbs I ever heard. I had luxury to work there in 2012 with Nico Bolas on 2 mixes, and we used chamber number 6. It's really one of the best reverbs I ever witnessed, and he was the designer of this underground echo chambers as well. By the way, at some point, that's just funny, Gibson wanted to update his design of Les Paul, and they introduced a new Les Paul. He said, no, it's not my design, don't use my name. There was a legal dispute. They said, okay. So they called it SG, which is super guitar. That's the one that Brian Molko from Placebo plays, Angus Young from AC/DC plays. That's double cut. It originally was like their own upgrade to Les Paul that he didn't approve. He said, don't use my name, this is not Les Paul. So, okay, then we go, that's toned out. Then we go to the 60s, which was the golden age of technology in audio recording. First of all, there was multi-tracking, because even on a 2-track tape machine that was used for the Beatles' first album, you can record the basics on two tracks, then you mix them together on 1 track of the second tape machine, which was called the reduction mix. And then you have a free second track, and you can overdub. And you can do layers and layers and layers of that. And that's how first Beatles album in the early 60s, like 63, 64, 65. Then there was a 4-track tape machine on Sgt. Pepper's, which was a big upgrade. And eventually, Abbey Road album was recorded purely on an 8-track tape machine. To that day, it was luxury. It was like 8 tracks at once. It was a huge advancement. The other thing is field effect transistors are being invented during this time. And the first non-tube but solid-state consoles appear. The album Abbey Road by the Beatles is very cool to listen with one thing in mind. When the EMI introduced their TG console, you may now find plugins that emulate that desk from Waves, I think. They have the TG and they have the Red 51 tube console, both from Abbey Road Studios. And yeah, they have the logo, so Abbey Road Studios approved that emulation, so it's good enough to carry that logo. When they first introduced this solid-state TG console, George Martin and Jeff Emerick said, no, we won't switch right away. We don't like the idea. Let's split the timelines from the microphones and record both tube and solid-state and compare. And they did that during the Magical Mystery Tour sessions. The album Magical Mystery Tour was released and mixed as a tube album, but not tube album, but it was recorded through tube preamps and tube electronics. They mentioned that, okay, strings sound nicer and cleaner, some guitars, some other stuff, but Ringo Starr drums, if you remove that distortion of a tube preamp of that Siemens Telefunken classic thing, it doesn't sound like Ringo anymore. So they kept that, and they kept, I think, some acoustic guitars and probably John Lennon's voice. The album Abbey Road is truly hybrid. It's partly solid state, partly field effect, partly tube. You have both, and these fantastic producer and engineer knowing what they're doing. So that was the change. At the same time, Bill Putnam in Los Angeles, who recorded Nat King Cole, Frank Sinatra, he built that famous Ocean Way Studios. He did field effect transistor versions of his own compressors that he designed. So 176 tube compressor becomes 1176, which is one of the most classic compressors you will have. We have a pair of really good replicas from Black Lion Audio in our studio. Actually, I think Dmitry is looking at the at the actual compressors right now in front of him. And LA2A, which is a tube optical compressors, gets a successor as LA3A. So now we have both technologies, tube and transistor, competing. You can use that, you can use this, and that's another aspect. Next thing, there was a huge advancement in reverbs, and reverbs are a big, big part of records, have been all the time. You know, if you listen to a violin in a dead room, it sounds bad. You know, it's terrible sound. If you listen to a violin in an orchestral hall with a big reverb, it sounds fantastic. So in the studios, people were always trying to recreate these artificially, these spaces of halls and chambers and everything, or churches or cathedrals. So the first technology, of course, was the echo chamber that I said. It's the most expensive one, and there are quite a few super famous chambers. I mentioned Capitol, then we have Abbey Road echo chambers. There's also a plugin for that. And then there was the Motown Studios echo chambers. There's also a plugin for that now from the UAD. And the next reverbs that evolved were the Spring. And the Spring is like responsible for surf guitar sound and this genre. In the late 60s, early 70s, EMT creates plate reverb, which is a very cool invention. It's just a metallic plate with a pickup like an electric guitar. You pass the sound through the plate, it resonates, vibrates, and there's like a decay time when it stops. And you get this lush reverb. And then in the early 70s, the same company, EMT, creates early digital reverbs, which is 250. And it's still to this day, it's very expensive. Talk about the advancements of digital technology. Of course, computers are so much faster than in the 70s now, but still you'll get this reverb on an eBay for very, very big money because it's built way too good, you know. And it's not always about processing power, it's more about the algorithm and design and the parts and how you manage it, you know. So at the same time, while you have multi-tracking, there's the new tendency to remix stuff, and slowly mixing engineer becomes a profession. By the late 70s, Bob Clearmountain put the final statement in this process because everybody was recording and gave Bob for mixing, like Rolling Stones, like Roxy Music, Avalon, and that stuff. And his mixes were so good that labels just say, okay, producer, thank you very much. You captured the band, sounds great. Now let Bob mix it. So everybody was jealous because back in the day, in the 60s, early 70s, everybody was used to, like, if I record this, I'm mixing this. That was obvious norm. It stopped being a norm late 70s. Another thing I should mention, of course, is analog synthesizers. Robert Moog and Aaron Perlman from ARP and Peter Zinoviev from EMS and all other stuff. It got evolving and evolving, and you got new bands like Kraftwerk, like Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and also big superstars like David Bowie, Yes, Rick Wakeman, the keyboard player, right, and other bands, Gentle Giant, Pink Floyd, using synthesizers extensively. Genesis, of course, yeah. And another thing of this era is the invention of noise reduction. It was like people hiss of the tape as something unavoidable. So yeah, it exists. They were trying to increase the dynamic range as good as possible. So here you have the noise floor, and here you have the distortion of the clipping of the amplifier. So between this and this, you have some dynamic range of the record. And Dolby, at some point, he invented this double process. First, you pre-process to tape, so it's like an expander and compressor, and then make this process after playback. And it removed the hiss of the tape. So in the 80s, like late 70s and 80s, the records sound much cleaner, not because of digital in the first place, but more about the, I'd say, production of Dolby technology of noise reduction. And there was Dolby Type A, Dolby Type B, then there was digital Dolby SR, which is fantastic. And you would listen to many records of that era, and you cannot say if it's analog or digital, because some of them are analog, some of them are digital. We are slowly going to the 80s, and yeah, that's the Beatles and David Bowie, so I'm not too boring with texts. And now we go to the 80s, and in the 80s you get digital tape machines, which is a blessing, you know, and Bob Clear Mountain switched to digital tape machines right away. First of all, there's no wear of tape all day. There's no change in temperature and stuff. So if you set the EQ in the morning and you finish the mix by 8 p.m., the source material that's hitting the EQ is exactly the same. So you can make a much more lush, precise, clean sound in mixes. And this is the Sony PCM 3324, and the successor was 3348, which was 48 channels, which is insanely good for the time. It was still used through 2000s by Chris Lord-Alge for playback. He mixed American Idiot by Green Day from that. He didn't use Pro Tools at the time. Yeah, and to the right is Fairlight CMI, which was created by Australian inventor Peter Vogel in the mid-70s, but it became very famous in the 80s as well. And you can find it in the setups of very posh productions, because it cost like a lot more than a car today. It was very expensive, like something like £20,000, I think. The early 80s was crazy money. So Peter Gabriel, Kate Bush, Genesis, Trevor Horn with all his projects like Frankie Goes to Hollywood, Art of Noise, Seal, and also the Pet Shop Boys, Depeche Mode, all the electronic artists of the era, they used the Fairlight because it offered sampling and sequencing in very good quality. You can use any sound. You can just go to, I don't know, somewhere in the street, hit a trash can with your, like, record that to a portable recorder, then sample that, and you can then go to Fairlight.
Can I interrupt you
and play
for
the
a second?
sound of a hammer hitting the trash can like a melody. And that was insane. There were others at the time, like Synclavier. Frank Filippetti, for instance, told me that for Foreigner Agent Provocateur album, they spent the whole day just sampling Mick Jones's guitar. So Mick could play his guitar sound like a synthesized keyboard sound in a song that was Yesterday. And they spent a lot of money for the rental and for the studio. Of course, it became a huge hit, but at the time it was unaffordable to public like you and me. Like, it was super expensive. Only big studios and big labels could afford that. So then we go to the 90s, and that's a whole different era. I can tell a lot about synths and sampling and drum machines, of course. Everything became more affordable. Like, unless you're a super rich producer, you couldn't allow Fairlight. But Akai sampler, or like some Roland sampler, or Ensoniq ASR series samplers, they were much more affordable. And that was responsible for the rise of several genres like Detroit techno, Chicago house music, hip hop, West Coast, East Coast, breakbeat, UK garage scene, underground, Jamaican, British breakbeat, mixture of styles, and that was working class period of music, because that became affordable. Same like synths in the 80s, because in the 60s you couldn't afford a synth. That was a big Moog modular. Come on, it was super expensive. Wendy Carlos could afford it. Emerson, Lake and Palmer could afford it. But in the 80s, you could buy some Yamaha or Korg or Roland for, say, $500 or $900 and make a song. That was responsible for the synth pop revolution of like Human League, Depeche Mode, Pet Shop Boys, New Order, other different bands. Everybody started to repeat what they liked in Kraftwerk. And then same thing after that, early 90s, you have cheaper sampling and you have this huge boost in underground hip-hop, breakbeat, and big beat, the Prodigy, and all these bands. Of course, they became big, but they started from somewhere, and that was affordable enough. Just like today, we have Ableton Live, a MIDI keyboard, and kind of you can make your first album, first hits using quite a affordable solution. So that was the first thing. The second thing is the introduction of DAWs. At the time, hard disks, like hard disk space, was very expensive. So that wasn't the point to do multi-track 24-bit recordings like we do now. Like disk space is almost free, compared to the price of magnetic tape or early hard drives. That's very cheap, And at the time, you see in the left is Cubase 1.0, 1989. It's made for Atari computers, Atari 1040. It's not PC, it's not Mac, it's just a very old, long obsolete Atari system, but it was responsible for a lot of big productions at the time. Like Fatboy Slim did this on Atari, and Cold Cut and Chicane, Faithless, many acts. I bet Massive Attack used that for early albums. And on the right, you see Pro Tools. So on the left, that's a MIDI sequencer. And on the right, this is audio editing machine. Right now, you have everything in every program, right? So you have both MIDI sequencing, very advanced, and audio recording and mixing and editing, very advanced in each DAW. Be it Logic, Ableton Live, Pro Tools, Pyramix, whatever, Fruity Loops, Studio One, Reaper. I can continue on and on. They both have everything. Like Logic, yeah, I said Logic. So at the time, there were like MIDI sequencers, Imagic Logic, and Cubase, and there were audio workstation. Pro Tools was the first for the Mac, I think. And also standalone ones like Raider system, like Euphonics R1. They are digital, but they're standalone high drive recorders. So it's a machine of its own. Also not cheap. And that's, again, the era when you have still tape machines dominating the market. So it's still the time you go to the studio, you buy a reel of tape, you buy studio time, it's not cheap, and you do the record as good as you possibly can. Then you mix it, and once you commit with the mix, the next day the next guy comes to the studio, all knobs go to zero, and if you want to recall that, you'd better take notes of every knob, of every device, of every channel. You can store it on a diskette if it's an SSL desk, for example, or a Neve desk for the recall. You can take, Tim Palmer told me they used to take Polaroids of their equipment. So if they want to recall something, they would look at the Polaroid photograph, and it's fast enough just to bring the settings back. Yeah, it's almost like taking a picture on an iPhone today. So, and at the same time, DVD format starts alongside CD, surround sound, and that's the 90s. That's the peak of sales of music was in 2001. That's another topic for another professional, but after 2001, there was a decline in sales and a lot of changes in the music industry. So now we enter the 21st century. And what we have here is these two guys. And a lot of discussions and holy wars on the internet. The first guy is Autotune, which is a pitch correction software, first introduced in 1997. And that allowed people to easily manipulate the pitch of the singer or an instrument. And comes the start of discussions like everyone can sing now. Like you have autotune, you have synthesizers, you don't have to play, you can program, you don't have to sing, you can autotune, which is of course not the fact. And autotune is being used both by professionals to correct pitch and by producers to deliberately create this autotune effect, like Cher, T-Pain, and all other acts you can name that use it deliberately as a gimmick. Another guy is Waves L2 Maximizer, which is a limiter, digital limiter. In analog world, in the analog circuits, it would be impossible to make such fast working peak limiter that can compress so much. But in the box, you can get it. So another one for this is loudness wars, and people start making records louder and louder. That's a competition thing. It's not always bad, in my opinion. I'm not the crusader for let everything be dynamic. Some records have to be smashed, but of course in 2000s to 2014, 15-ish, for example, and still to this day, they were widely overused by many bands. So
Ilya, hello.
actually, the first loudness war record in the digital era, I would say it was Oasis, definitely, maybe 1993, I think, where Owen Morris, he didn't master the record. He just took Apogee converter with soft clip and he smashed the input. So he just shredded the record as hot as possible with hard clipping, with red lights going on all the time. But that was some Sex Pistols move for them. And Oasis, they're quite, aggressive in their statement and in their artistic image. So that worked very well. And the next one was Red Hot Chili Peppers' Californication, which was really compressed. There were distortions on the CD. People blamed for that, but that's also a super hit. And it's rock music, and it's not Diana Krall. It shouldn't be that dynamic, to be honest. The arrangements and the performance, they required that compression, so I don't blame that as well. And last but not the least was Death Magnetic by Metallica, which created a lot of discussions and controversy about this, how loud can you go, but the truth is it's not mastering it, it's not limiter. It was Andrew Sheps who mixed the record and smashed the input of the converter when he printed the mixes. So when Ted Jensen did mastering, he didn't make it any louder. He just kept it the way the band wanted it. But because he's last in the chain, you have recording, producing, then you have the mix, and then you have the mastering engineer. He's the last in the process, so he got all the blame. But he said, "Man, I did Madonna Ray of Light, which is the best position to put it." Oh, I have a question. Let me see. Where's the chat? Okay. In the mastering chain, of course, in the end, the limiter goes to the end. Sometimes after the limiter, you can use something like a de-esser, because a limiter brings that harshness. So before limiter, if you put the de-esser, it wouldn't touch that. But after the limiter, you can put a de-esser, but you have to be very careful not to go above digital zero, so you can then put a true peak limiter something or back off the output. But normally, limiter is the last guy in the chain. But as with everything, there are no rules. Thanks for the question, Carlo. Yeah. So that's the 2000 thing. At the same time, you have MP3s, you have cheaper disk space, you have faster internet, and as a result, this change of recording industry, some studios closed. A lot of people buy Pro Tools and computer, or Nuendo and computer, or Logic and computer, and do it on their own. That said, again, Les Paul had his home studio in the 60s, and Moby did play in his home studio late 90s, same as Chicane, Nick Bracegirdle. So home recording has been here for quite a while. It's not something new. And the fact that now anyone can buy a computer, plugins, it doesn't mean that we're all kind of equal now. No, you need this knowledge, you need this expertise, and when Finesse and Billie Eilish take this quite simple setup with just one Neumann Logic and computer and universal audio card, with their vision, with their talent, they're not the same as me, and same with everyone, you know. So that's the main point here. So yes, you can afford equipment now, but you still have to learn how to use it. Yeah, for instance, I can buy a football ball, exactly the same model that Leo Messi is playing. Doesn't mean at all that I'm a good football player and I wouldn't perform like nothing like him. Impossible. Yeah. So that's the same with music, you know. And like you can say, how many people bought a Stratocaster or a Les Paul? Still, there are these greats, and there are just home enthusiasts, and the gap is quite huge. So knowledge is as important as it was decades ago. There is no substitute for that, knowledge and practice. Yeah. So then we go to the modern day and age, which is 2010 first. And that's the very interesting thing, because it's the introduction of a new model of immersive audio, first designed for movies. So the sound can go not only around you, but also up and down and in 3D. So it's like spatial audio, 360 degree in 3D. And this is the picture of Dolby Atmos room based on PMC loudspeakers. And the room where Dimitris and Carlos sitting now has exactly the same specs. And it's also Atmos calibrated immersive room. And this format, for instance, I wouldn't say for music, it's more of a gimmick. Of course, when you use this virtual pseudo-spatial, it's kind of some kind of nice sound effects. But for movies, where you go to cinema and the system is properly installed, it was quite an advancement. So now for big cinema, it's the standard to work with. So if you don't have the soundtrack in Atmos, like it's a competitive disadvantage. So most post-production for big movies and for immersive theater plays as well, they now happen in Dolby Atmos, and especially sound effects and some noises, background noises, Foley, they are really benefiting from this one. I was happy to hear the first Atmos playback in 2014 at Olympic Cinema in London. They had this company called Flare, the Flare loudspeakers, and I was quite impressed. I just watched there was nothing running there, but my friend showed it to me, and I just watched a trailer for the movie. And that's quite a thing. So another thing is, like I said, this loudness war, it created a reaction from the public, and some engineers like Bob Katz, whom I know really well, and some others, they launched like an initiative, and eventually they got streaming platforms to normalize the audio. So if you make it too loud, they'll keep it like that and just bring it down. And now there are normalization specs for each platform. I think Spotify is -14 LUFS, Apple Music is -15. YouTube has its own. Deezer has its own. And now musicians, producers, labels, and mixing master engineers have to take this into account, because many users, final users of music, they have sound check or normalization switched on, and if you compress your record too much, it won't sound louder anymore. It will just sound compressed and at the same level. So that's a big change in 2010s as well. And also, the thing that I already mentioned at that time, and now I mention it more and more, there's some saturation of the plugin market, because in the early 2000s, there was so many innovations in the industry of plugins. Yeah, sorry, I'm just drinking some puer. And there were new plugins and new ideas of plugins, concepts of plugins evolving all the time. Now the computer processing power got up. Most brands, they emulated everything they could emulate. So there's nothing more to emulate it. And now the market is kind of on the plateau. So I think next movements, like this will stay, but what happens next is yet to be witnessed. The same thing, early 2010s, early AI models evolved. And I remember AI mastering, like Lander, was being launched as early as 2015, I think. And it sounded terrible. And to these days, there is a lot of advancement in the AI technology, and the models are much more complicated. They learn all the time, and the processing power is bigger. But AI mastering sounds as bad as it was the first days when it appeared, to professionals, to big artists. It's a thing. If you want to publish your track on SoundCloud and you don't know what to do, like paying $5 for AI mastering, just bringing it to some loudness level and EQ and something, maybe it's a thing. But in the big industry, nobody really counts on that, to be honest. That said, AI, yeah, let's go to the next slide. That said, AI has its big place in audio. And first of all, it's an audio restoration. There were a lot of jokes about, oh, you're a sound engineer. Yes, can you remove the vocal from the song? So I have karaoke version. No, I can't. So now you can. With AI, it does it really well. And recently, we've done a big project for an artist, Snow Raven. I mastered her latest album, Human, together with beatboxer Johnny Buffalo. It was longlisted for Grammy 2026 in 2 categories. And after that, she asked me to do playbacks for her performances. And for some songs, like years ago, she didn't have any stems or any sessions or any playbacks printed. Only the mastered, final, released version. And other files are lost. So we did a lot of work with my colleague, Paul Lebedev. We trained AI to subtract her particular voice from the records, and then manually adjusted song by song, part by part. Sometimes it deleted some flutes or some back vocals that we wanted to keep. And it wasn't very easy, spent a lot of time for that, but it did it really clean. Of course, you cannot replace a human judgment with AI. It cannot automatically do anything, but it's a great tool and you can use it, you can train it to do a particular thing. Yeah. When we discussed, she was very anxious, said like, AI will now sing like me. I said, no. The only thing this AI, after all this huge work, can do is subtract your voice from your song, like nothing else. It's a very, very one-trick pony, this whole LLM that we train. I've seen other musicians doing really cool stuff with AI. And my friend, a musician who he doesn't even know scores and notes. He doesn't know music theory, but he has perfect pitch. So he just sings the melodies of different instruments for demos and asks AI to replace it with a violin or a flute or a trumpet or a saxophone. And for a demo to show to musicians, it kind of works. So having LLM AI in your toolkit is a great thing. You just have to know what particular thing you do with it. If you write songs with AI, well, good luck. When I was a teenager in 1998, I think, I had this Roland MC303 groove box, and it was pre-programmed, and there were like 99 or maybe more tracks loaded into it. You could play it like Ableton Live. You could mute and unmute parts, mix them, apply effects to certain parts, and there were many tracks like psytrance, techno, house, hip hop, jungle, drum and bass, everything. Something pre-programmed at Roland Corporation headquarters by those guys. And I DJ'd on that a little at school, but it doesn't mean I created a song, you know, I just used something. Yeah, it can sound cool. You can even write a melody based on a preset. Why not? You know this infamous song Gorillaz, Clint Eastwood. You can watch a documentary with Damon Albarn says that he uses this instrument and it's a preset number 1, and that's it's just the preset number 1. Why not? So AI even can help you to write something or to give you an idea, or you can hear something it creates and get another idea. Why not? So that's my attitude to it. And yeah, of course, in 2020s we had further move online, like we do now today, literally, right? I'm here in Georgia, and people from all the world are in the Google Meet, and Dmitry and Carlo, I'm in the institute. So pandemic showed that the technology of moving online has much more potential. People adapted a lot, but some things cannot be moved online, because like when you perform live together in an ensemble, when you play together instruments, you will always have this time delay between when you hit a note and somebody in another town hears this note, and vice versa, because you cannot travel faster than speed of light. That's the limit of our physical reality. So it's not about the power of computers or the speed of internet. There's a physical limit to that, and you will never play at the same time like you play in one room to someone in Australia if you're in Boston or in Abu Dhabi. It's just physically impossible. So that's one thing about online. And another, of course, human contact and reaction. It's also a limited thing. It's a great tool for learning. I started Berkeley Online myself in 2008. The internet wasn't fast like it is today. I got my Pro Tools sessions on DVDs, standard mail via DHL, because it would take ages to download that. Still, it's a thing, and whether online or offline, I wish you all to learn something new every day, to ask questions, of course, for yourself and for others, to be replied. If there's no answer, you can leave it open and wait for new information. So thanks a lot for joining me. And now it's time for questions and answers, if anyone has them. So thank you very much again. We are at Digital Renaissance Music Institute in Dubai Knowledge Park. Thanks a lot. Yes.
Hello, how are you?
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Hello, Ferras. Can you hear me, right?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, maybe
I don't
Ilya
hear
cannot
anything.
hear
Maybe you
us.
muted yourself. No.
No. Okay, yeah, there is something that Ilya cannot hear us.
Do you want me to type I can type it if you want.
Whereas, yeah, I hear nothing, sadly.
No, I'm in two. I logged with two, so it's just maybe Ilya cannot hear us.
Let me check. You hear it, but I don't. That's weird. Yeah, you may type. Yeah, if you don't mind. Yeah, for some reason I don't know.
1 second.
Yes.
Okay, so can you hear me now, Ilya? No, I don't think so.
That's strange. It kind of.
Yeah. Me or him?
Let me join again, I think. Or.
Ferras, I'm
Let me
speaking
check
with Ilya. Maybe he needs to just
Let me check 1 second.
join again. Maybe there is something. Because he's not muted. Seems that it's all okay, maybe from his side.
Yeah, sure. I just have a second ear.
Yes.
My girlfriend just brought a second computer. Yeah, now I hear myself, and you may speak as well.
Oh, you can hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Okay,
Wonderful.
perfect. So I am typing the okay. So okay, the only small thing is that I really didn't try the remote rehearsal. And first of all, again, thank you very much. I was very interested, and I am so into the audio in general. Everything that you said are very big value. I have only a couple of concerns about the remotely rehearsals because I didn't try it yet. And as you said, there is still a problems about this remote things. But I had a couple of weeks ago a meeting with a friend. He was explaining such thing, and I was like shocked how the quality is happening, and because of the war now, and because of a lot of things. So it's really a very good quality. Like it's a vintage recorded tape in a in the basement, but it's not that bad. Let me say sync wise. So is it okay? And what do you prefer?
You mean the recording of?
Not recording. Let's say for rehearsals now. That's the because recording we can do it the worst case scenario. We can do it separate tracks, everyone in his place or something. But if you wanna have the meeting for a rehearsal, and we actually can't because we can't go now to this place, so we can have a meeting, and this also can be good for a situation if we have a group. I was thinking about this also if we have a group lesson, if we have a group thing. And after you mentioned this now, and because some people that tried this, they were like really shocked with the quality of the thing. The first time I heard about it, I said, okay, it's a new thing. Maybe it will. Okay, but I didn't know what is it because I didn't try it. But do you recommend with this kind of idea? Because it's not cheap to be honest.
It depends on the distance. So what
Like
I'm
it's
speaking now.
flight distances.
Yes, so I mean, like if you're in the same town, it's one thing. But like I'm speaking to you now and listening to my echo from this, it's a delay of about 1 second. It's very uncomfortable.
Yes.
So if you
yes.
play drums and the guy plays bass, and for instance, one is in Istanbul and another guy is in Dubai or in Riyadh or in Athens in Greece, that would be a problem.
Yes, now I understood your point exactly. Yeah.
So it's just the distance, because actually this information, the sound, is electricity, and it travels at a speed no more than the speed of light. So it's just impossible. Yeah.
Of course.
So it will take some time anyway. That was my point on the lecture.
Okay.
Thank you, Feras.
Thank you.
thanks
Thank you
a lot.
very much.
There are one more. Sorry, guys.
Yes, sure.
Let participate. We have.
Hello, Ilya. How are you?
Hello. Good.
I just have a question about what kind or which microphone do you recommend me for record strings, especially cellos and violins. I try to record myself in the house, but I don't know nothing about how record or sound, so I try to learn the most as possible. Always when I record myself sound really metallic. So I just try to find the better microphone or what kind of, I don't know if it's the camera or if it's the microphone, but it is really hard record streams. Acoustic instruments strings. When I record in the with the cello, the electric cello, is really different. But acoustic strings are really complicated to record properly. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I'll just remove not to listen to myself with 1 second delay. That's quite annoying. For acoustic instruments like strings, first of all, it's normally a condenser mic, something like, I don't know your budget, but there are some microphones like Rode or Audio Technica that are quite affordable. There are obviously the classic Neumanns and AKGs, but they're more expensive. It's also important to get the distance right, and it's also important how the room sounds. If it's too harsh, then probably it's the distortion in the preamp and not on the microphone. So you have to check the whole chain. You may write like an email or a message to the institute or to Instagram or whatever. I'll explain further, but it all depends. If you're recording to a camera, maybe the camera has quite a harsh input of the mic pre. Sometimes they're biased to work better with speech. So it has a lot of high frequencies like the telephones and like that. And that's normally not good for warmer acoustic sound, especially for low register instruments like double bass, cellos, trombones, and they really need the low mids and low end. Another thing I really like to do with cellos is to combine a condenser mic and a ribbon mic together, because ribbon mics, they don't have quite a lot of information above 7-8K, but they have this good sustain and presence in the low mids. So for these types of instruments, they are a really good option as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the question. We have now another one.
Okay, so
Here we
Carl,
go.
let me know if you have no more questions.
Yeah, actually, we have another one.
I don't hear you
If I'm
now.
not wrong.
Sorry. Yes.
From SD Art. And now I don't know the name.
Yes.
Oh,
Sorry.
hello.
I would be unmuting from the other device. Okay.
Oh, thank
All right,
you.
Yeah, I
guys.
hear you.
Thank you so much, Ilya. Okay. All right.
Yes.
So it's been a
Yes,
pleasure
nice to meet
meeting you. Yeah. All right. So I joined late. I missed most of your part. Okay. But sorry, I would like to ask something. When it comes
Sure.
to Dolby Atmos rendering, right? Yeah. So most of the Logic and other Pro Tools, everybody
The
has
sound is lost
yeah,
somehow.
the binaural this one
Oh, can you repeat
immersive
again?
audio. Immersive. Can you hear me? Hello.
Now I hear
Yes.
you. Yeah.
Yes.
Could you
Yes.
repeat, please,
Okay.
once again? Sorry.
All right. So the thing is, Ableton doesn't have a render for this one, immersive audio, Dolby Atmos, right? Atmos. Yeah.
Yes.
It's like Logic, both Logic and Pro Tools do have renders Dolby Atmos. And how do we bring it to Ableton? And then how could we? It's like a third-party render, right? Yeah. I would like to know much more about how to bring Dolby and Ableton Live. Yeah.
Didn't work on it yet, but I think it's a limitation of the program itself.
Okay.
So normally Dolby stuff is done on Pro Tools or Pyramix. Logic has that. Also Dolby Labs have their own very expensive plugins that you can put in the bus. Yeah, but it's quite a serious format. The number one thing for Dolby Atmos records is the Dolby spec room itself.
Okay.
So you make balance and judgments and all this 3D panning and listening to a very realistic reference.
Okay.
So it will sound exactly the same in the cinema. Yeah, so that's the thing.
So I would like to ask one more thing. Is it much more harder to mix in this immersive audio or else in stereo kind of setup?
It's just practice. And I would say most mixers, when it comes to movie soundtrack, they use these top speakers and rear speakers and center speaker for sound effects, occasional maybe reverbs, and mostly it's used in the movies for noises, for sounds, but not for instruments, because it's not quite a reliable thing, to carry the program. I can tell you one very interesting thing about 5.1 immersive, which was the previous format. Nico Bolas told me that Ed Cherney mixed a DVD by Rolling Stones. It was like 2010 or something. And people were returning DVDs to the shops and saying it's like bad quality. There's no vocal. And he did put the vocal in the center speaker. And many home theaters are miscalibrated or badly calibrated, and there's no idea where the central speaker will be in that room. So, like since 2010s already, all the big engineers, they put the program in left and right.
Okay.
So if you want to put something in the center, you put it in the phantom center of left-right bus, like we would do in the stereo. And same in Atmos. You don't put the kick drum or the snare or the bass or the vocal in the center speaker. That's a risk, because situations where you have a good, well-calibrated system is very rare. In the cinema, yes, but home theaters, it's just a gamble. You know, you will never know how many people who own really badly calibrated system will buy the record. So it has to be foolproof. And that's why people put the main instruments into left and right and the center between them. And center speaker, rear speakers, top speakers, they're for ambience, for effects, for reverbs, for this immersive impression. And that's how most big mixers work to this day. So it's good to know. Yeah, I think it's, it's an important fact. Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's so interesting. I have a quick question by myself before the other one.
Sure.
Is it wrong to call the Dolby Atmos like 8D audio in this way? Because there was a trend in the social networks, and they were calling this rounding 8D audio. I don't know. Somebody discovered and published some videos with some music, and they were calling it 8D audio. Is it wrong, or it's just something to simplify for who is not going to the?
I would say it's three-dimensional, anyways. It's just the listener's position is embraced much more. So you have sounds moving from top to bottom and back, like in all, like there are more freedom of sounds to move and evolve from all the different parts of the room. But I mean, like, I still think it's 3D. It's just better 3D. Okay. 8D sounds to me something like snake oil.
Yeah, maybe they wanted to
describe it, because there's like this axis, and this axis. This 3D, and we are 3D.
Yeah. Makes sense.
It's a 3D reality.
Makes sense. Thank you, Ilya. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
So we have Kingsley. Oh, sorry, are you lower?
Yes. Hello.
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. Hello.
Yeah, Kingsley.
Hello. Yeah. Good. I don't know the time there, but it's good evening here, and I just want to ask, because my question is more or less like an advice. I need an advice. Also, I need a mentor. I'm totally a beginner in
That's okay.
In music. I know there are a lot of guys here who are pros, but for me, I'm a total beginner. And I've realized something recently. Everything I need to pay for instrumentals, for recording, and one of my friends were telling me, if you want to be relevant in the music industry, you would have to learn a skill, maybe mixing, mastering, knowing how to record, something like that. Just have a skill so that you can be able to be doing your recording, so that you can stay relevant and belong in the industry. Because if you don't know how to do any of these things, you'll kind of record one song. I actually have one single album release. After, I need to pay again for, sometimes, we get inspiration for certain songs, but maybe it's just an idea. Sometimes not all the songs are maybe to be released, but you need to still pay for it. So if you have a skill, or maybe you have a mentor who is directing you, okay, do it like this, do it that way, you'll be able to know, okay, this way I'm supposed to go. So my question is more or less an advice you can give me. What should I start with, and what should I embrace? Yeah, actually. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kingsley. A very good question. Every artist, even the best super professionals, or every engineer started from somewhere some time ago. So my advice would be to carry on making music, releasing music, and learning it to some degree. That's how I learned, for instance, mastering. I was learning doing mixes, and sometimes advised artists to send it to mastering to another engineer who is big, like much better than me at the time. And when I get my mixes back from that mastering engineer, I learn a lot more about production and mixing as well. So this kind of working yourself and also collaborating with others, both, they kind of bring some perspective onto how good you are at something and what else can be done in the next project. And that puts you in the industry as well. So just recently I got back a master from Mike Marsh like 3 days ago, and it sounded so good. I would never ever do this like him, but it doesn't mean I'm out of the market. You know, I produced the song, I engineered the recording sessions, and Tim Palmer did the mix, and then Mike did the mastering. At the end of the game, we all got the great single, and the artist is happy. So for you as an artist, as a musician, as a composer, as a performer, it's good to learn it to some degree, but keep it sane and work with others. As long as you learn how to do basic recording and mixing, you'll have a better understanding. Is the guy you hire for that good enough for the purpose? And do you like his sound? And there are a lot of platforms online, for instance, like Fiverr, like Sound Better, where you can find some professionals in different price ranges that allow you to use their services online. And the second thing is your hometown. If there is any enthusiast, is anyone like a friend or friend's friend that has a very simple setup at home, maybe a couple mics, a DAW, a MIDI keyboard, something, couple speakers, just start working with others and learn, and they will learn from you, you will learn from them. This kind of exchange is, there's no substitute to it. You need to be in the industry to be in the industry. And the industry doesn't mean you have to go to New York to a fancy studio and shake hands of Rick Rubin. It means you have to work with people at any level, you know. Same with concerts, same with jamming. It's flesh and blood of the industry, and that's how everyone learns. Because the feedback from your colleague, or like you sang a song and he says, I think this is good, but you can try one more take with this different attitude, which you wouldn't think yourself, because your brain and your soul and everything is busy singing at the moment. You're performing. And the guy's not only an engineer, he's also listening to your singing. And maybe he can give a good advice, or you can listen to it the other day and say, okay, everything is great, but I'll change the lyric in the first verse a little bit, or something like that. This is the real situation. And this is what cannot be learned from watching YouTube videos or reading books. You have to be inside the situation and practice. And the more you do it, the more you understand which direction to take next and what to learn more, where to put your efforts. So it's ping pong with reality. It's not just basic skill, A, B, C, D like this, because it's art and there are no rules generally. If somebody likes the record and it's appealing to him, it can be done wrong in all respects, like, and all the engineers say the opposite, but if it cuts through, it's something that touches people and they listen to the song, who cares? You got there. I mean, and that's how art works, you know. And the same with movies, the same with paintings, you know. Who cares if it's just a banana taped with a duct tape to a wall? People value it, they like it. Who am I to judge? It's art. That's what's good about it. It's not just protocol to follow. It's something very vivid, very human. There are no rules generally. There are rules of physics. There are rules of gain staging, of stuff like that, of course. But if at the end the piece is sounding great, I don't care. That's my reply. Thank you.
Very nice
Thank
work
you so much. Yeah.
and nice answer. It's a very nice topic, this, because like the knowledge, it will give you the freedom during the process of creating the new song. But it's like we are not born with this culture in the mixing, mastering and stuff. But if you catch some informations, and then it's also fun to try those new informations in your new song. Also, I have so many friends that they are so nice to make to produce music, but they are never sure to publish it because doesn't sounds very nice. But they didn't release one song in the last 10 years, so I'm so sorry that they are losing those opportunities. And then, as Ilya said, in the meantime, you will improve your the output of your music, and also it's nice to listen to your own music after 10 years and see how did you improved. It's fun.
It's absolutely right. I agree. And another thing. Oh, sorry. Some advanced technology here going on. Another thing is that when you release the song, and like I have a couple songs myself, when you release it and when you're listening to it from Spotify, you hear it so much differently. Like your neural networks in your brain that are firing are different. And artists that don't release their music, that don't perform in front of people, they will never touch those feelings and get that feedback and change reacting to that feedback, you know, because if you just write on your own and collecting projects, unfinished projects on the hard drive, you're lacking this very important element. You really need other people to listen to the music that you made, and you really need to see your music, at least on SoundCloud, which is free. Just, you know, it's available to public. Like you show yourself like to others, and you show your song to others, or your score music or game audio or something. That's how you learn as well. If you lack this experience, if you don't perform, if you don't release, you are missing this learning element as well. So thanks a lot. Yeah, that's a very big question, and it's a forever question, because many people who are engineers now, they are artists who wanted to sound better. They didn't like their records, so they started learning engineering. That's how I started back in 2007-ish, and now it's my full-time job. But you'll never know. I'm enjoying it, to be honest. Yeah, and happy to share some things I know with others. That's why I work in the institute. But basically, it's a full-time job. So if you're into engineering, so deep, you don't have any time to write songs anymore. So that's like, you have only 24 hours per day. So try to some degree, have a demo setup. To every artist, I say, have a demo setup at home. Just a small card, like 2 channels, 4 channels, Arturia sound fuse, or audio fuse, or maybe Audient or something not expensive, or even like cheap line of Focusrite, which is very affordable. Their big quality studio gear is expensive, but their entry level is very affordable. A couple of headphones, something, microphone, just to cut the demos, to show the ideas of the arrangement. Sometimes it's hard for the artist to explain what he wants, even to his musicians. Not only I'm saying about the studio engineer, but to his own musicians that he plays with, to his peers, to his bandmates. He has an idea in his head and doesn't know how to explain it in words, so they kind of get the idea. And this connection is also, sometimes it's just easier to write a melody, or like write a pad on a synth in the verse and show it to the keyboard player or something. If you know how to demo, to make scratch vocals, to make rough mixes, you are armed to have something to show to others, not necessarily releasing what you're doing, but also showing it to musicians, showing it to the producer or engineer when you come to the studio. This is the demo, and you have the reference. Like if he makes a worse version, you say, man, this is the demo, it sounds better. I don't like this, let's change it, or let's kind of, okay, thank you very much, here's the payment, I go to the next studio. Why not? So learning engineering to some degree is a great idea. Thanks a lot. I would listen to that. And I also had an idea, probably we will do this sometimes, I don't know, we have to discuss it in the university, but maybe we'll do a session of listening to your records or demos to evaluate them. But maybe it's like the coming months, we will discuss this. I can't promise it right now because we have limited time that we can make these line events.
Sure, for sure, we'll do some events about demo and feedback.
Additional great stories to tell. So it's something to be discussed. SDR, if you want to send me a demo, you can find an Instagram and hit me a link. No worries. I'll listen to it and give you feedback. No worries. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much, Ilya. I don't know if somebody have some other question. Do you guys?
Mr. Ilya's Instagram page, please.
You see my website and the QR code. It's there. You can find Instagram there. So the first link is the institute, and the second is my personal website. So you can find the feedback form or write me to Instagram or Facebook or whatever, or just an email.
Okay, Ilya, thank you so much. It was so...
Carlo, thanks a lot. Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Pleasure,
Thank you very much.
as always. Yeah. Thanks
please
a lot.
follow Ilya and let's stay in touch. We'll continue with those online events also here in Dubai Knowledge Park. You can find us, and let's we are launching many events like that. So let's keep in touch. Thank you again, and have a good evening.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you,
I
Ilya.
hope you enjoyed it, and good luck. Make great records, and
let's release
all
music.
the best for the upcoming year. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye to everyone.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, guys.
I really want to connect with most of you guys. So if I would get maybe a meeting place you guys normally meet, I'll be okay. So I can come over.
Sure.
Yeah.
Of course. You can join us. You can join us when you want.
Okay, thank you. I'm disconnecting.
Bye, guys. Have a good evening. Thank you.